I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation, the doomsday cult killer, Lori Daybell. She's responsible for killing her own children and her new husband's wife, and now the focus is on the shooting death of her fourth husband. Here's the story. We call Lori Daybell the doomsday cult mom. She was convicted in Idaho for the murders of her two youngest children, 7-year-old Joshua J.J. Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan, as well as for conspiring to kill her fifth husband's first wife, Tammy Daybell. In July of 2023, she received 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Prosecutors argue that Lori Daybell's extreme religious beliefs, which included apocalyptic prophecies and labeling her children as zombies, motivated the killings. The children's remains were discovered in 2020 on her fifth husband Chad Daybell's property in Idaho. Following her Idaho convictions, Lori Daybell was extradited to Arizona, where she faces charges for conspiring to murder her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, in 2019. Prosecutors allege that she collaborated with her brother, Alex Cox, to kill Charles and claim his life insurance money. Lori Daybell, representing herself, did not present any evidence or witnesses in her defense, but claims her innocence, calling Charles' death a family tragedy. You know, when you say the word Judgment Day, it means different things to different people. I think at one point in Lori Daybell's life, it was about, the day that she was going to lead the 144,000 souls, her and Chad the prophet. But that has a different meaning these days for Lori Daybell. Judgment Day is the day when the jury comes back and renders a verdict. A verdict in a really significant case for significant charges, like, conspiracy to commit the murder of your husband Charles. Let's take a look at the verdict.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, we have.
I'm going to ask you to hand that to my courtroom assistant. I'll ask the clerk to read and record the verdict.
In the Superior Court of the State of Arizona in and for the County of Maricopa, State of Arizona versus Lori Daybell, CR 2021-001704-001, verdict count 1. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action, upon our oaths, do find the defendant, Lori Daybell, as to the crime of count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder occurring on or about July 11, 2019, guilty. Signed, foreperson. Is this your true verdict, so say you one and all?
Yes.
On the court's own motion, I'll go ahead and ask the clerk to poll the jury.
Juror number 1, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 2, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 6, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 7, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 8, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 9, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 10, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 11, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 12, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 13, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 15, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 16, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to ask the jury to retire to the jury room for just about 2 minutes. I need to discuss something with the parties before we determine whether you're done or not. So the admonition still applies. Please go to the jury room for a few minutes.
Well, it's not like she hasn't heard that word before, guilty, but yeah, there you have it. So we had this case. She represented herself. She didn't put on any evidence, but we did hear a strong case put forth by the prosecution in a case where it was not easy to put these pieces together. And that brings us to the first question in our investigation. What did this case prove? And when I ask that question, I mean, there's the literal part of it, right? Like the evidence, what did it prove? But then, you know, you take a wider look at it. Like, what did we learn here? Was anything confirmed here? What did this case prove? Here with us, she's outside the courthouse in Phoenix, where she's been inside the courtroom for the entire trial. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft and Lori Vallow, Daybell's cousin and host of the podcast, The Midlife Revolution. Megan Connor is with us as well, and she's there for the whole trial also. All right, Kelly, this is, I don't know, it could be a philosophical one. You could take it literally, but what did this case prove?
Vinnie, one, it proved that she conspired with her brother Alex Cox to murder her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. I would also say that it proved that there's a pattern with Lori Daybell, being that she was convicted of murdering her two children, Tylee Ryan, as well as J.J. Vallow, and also conspiring to murder Tammy Daybell, Chad Daybell's wife. And now the number is 4 with this verdict today from the jurors. So I would say it's proven a lot.
Megan, from your perspective, you know, it's another validation from the jury about what we all suspected, right? The evidence is there. Putting all this together, what did this case prove? What did this case confirm for you? What did you learn from all of this?
Well, it confirmed for me that Lori has always been someone who has a different persona in public than she has in private. It confirmed for me that she is an excellent manipulator, and we saw it over and over from police officers and other people in the case, involved with the case, how they wanted to believe Lori at first. You know, she's pretty, she's charming, she has a nice smile, and that gives her a little bit of privilege in society, and she used it to her advantage, and we've seen her do that over and over. What I loved about this particular case is that this is the first time that Lori has had to face in public some very poignant failures, where the same tricks that she's been using her whole life are no longer working for her. And I hope that that puts some cracks in her veneer and in her psyche a little bit, so that she learns that she can't use these tactics forever.
Let's take a look, and that's really insightful. Thanks so much, Megan. Let's take a look at some of the bigger moments from this trial as we reflect upon this moment of Lori Daybell being found guilty.
As we go through this trial, you'll be provided with phone calls, emails, text messages, and hear testimony that lays out the motive for this murder: money and Chad Daybell.
Self-defense is not a crime. A family tragedy is not a crime. It's a tragedy.
Did Lori ever tell you during your interview that Charles started this argument?
No.
She told you that she was afraid of Charles coming over, invited her brother over to protect her, and then she started a fight by refusing to give Charles back his phone.
Correct.
You stated that your husband, or my husband, told you that he was going through a divorce. Is that correct?
That's correct. Do you go on dates with married men? Naturally?
Argumentative.
So you spent your whole date getting to know each other, talking about me.
Don't flatter yourself. No, we did not spend the whole time talking about you.
Did you see with your eyes, or hear with your ears, or personally witness me conspire with my brother, Alex Cox, to murder my husband, Charles Vallow?
No.
Thank you. No more questions. But you knew that there was some kind of contention going on with those two for a while.
Ms. Woodcock,
Did you see or hear or personally witness me conspire with Alex Cox to kill my husband, Charles Vallow?
No, but I saw a ton of evidence that did.
And this defendant is the person who set up Charles so that her brother, Alex, could shoot him. Alex fired 2 shots, and he was executed as he lay there on the ground.
under Arizona law, I had the right to self-defense. Tylee had the right to self-defense. Alex had the right to self-defense. This event was not planned or expected. It was shocking.
Kelly, you know, we go into these trials, and when I was a correspondent like you are now, I would have certain expectations going in. So from your perspective, now having lived this trial, is there anything that kind of surprised you, something that you didn't expect that transpired inside that courtroom?
Lori's demeanor, Vinnie, really, because I didn't know what to expect from her. She was representing herself in this case. And it would surprise me as we went on through the trial how she was able to adapt and change the forms of her questions based on what the judge was saying to her, based on the objections. So I was actually surprised that she was able to hold it together as well as she did.
How about for you, Megan? Did anything surprise you? Something unexpected during the course of this case?
I think that was part of it too, that, you know, for me, I really expected, having seen Lori in some of these pretrial motions where she lost her temper from time to time and she got snarky from time to time. I was surprised she was able to hold it together for the entire trial. I fully expected at some point that she was going to give up and turn over to having advisory council take over for her. I'm surprised she kept her composure as much as she did.
Kelly, I know you had an opportunity to speak with one of the jurors afterwards. Anything from the juror that, you know, what was their impression? Was there any level of sympathy or belief in what Lori was doing?
Yes, in the beginning, Vinnie, they said that a lot of them felt sorry for Lori when she delivered that opening statement, and she was emotional. This is the first time that we have seen any sort of remorse from Lori Daybell. She displayed that for the jury in that opening statement. The juror that I spoke with said that they felt sorry for her at first, but then as the trial went on and they started to learn about Chad Daybell and the fact that she had some romantic involvement with him, they talked about those text messages between Chad and Lori, and they said that made them begin to start doubting what she was saying.
Yeah, and it all comes back, right, Megan, to why this happened. And, you know, I'm a simple guy. You know, she basically got the hots for another guy and was trying to figure out a way to get on with this guy who didn't have two nickels to rub together. Do you agree, Megan? Oh, we lost audio.
I do agree. I do agree. I think for Lori that it was always about power and control, and some people have mentioned money as a motive, but I think even the money was about power and control for Lori, and that's really, I think, what it comes down to. She wanted what she wanted, and she didn't really care who she hurt in her quest to get it.
Kelly Craft, thank you so much. Great reporting. Another long day for you. We always appreciate it. Megan's going to stick around. Coming up next, does Lori care about this case? Is Karen Reed a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Reed was framed! Karen Reed is accused of murdering her police officer boyfriend.
Defendant stated repeatedly, I hit him, I hit him.
She may end up taking the stand. Her first trial ended with a hung jury. They haven't proven anything.
Will a jury finally agree on a verdict? We know who did it.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
The first time JJ visited me after he passed away, he put his arm around me and he said to me, "You didn't do anything wrong, Mom."
There's Lori Daybell. You know, in her first trial, she kind of sat there. She didn't really do anything. She didn't really participate or cooperate with her attorneys. She did very little, and she didn't testify. But then at the end, when it was time to be sentenced and the case is wrapping up and the jury's gone, etc., she decides to speak. Let's take another listen to that statement.
I was a young mother. And you would think I wouldn't want to leave my children. But as I stood in heaven, I did not want to go back. I thought they would be fine without me because I was peaceful and I was happy and I was home. But then I was told by Jesus that I needed to go back and complete things that I had covenanted or promised to do before I was born. This caused me a lot of distress because I knew heaven was my real home, and I only wanted to be there. I was free from pain, emotional and physical. But then I was shown how I would help my children and others in the future. So ultimately, I did agree to go back to my body.
Okay. Then came her Arizona trial. And she decides to represent herself, but doesn't testify, doesn't present any evidence, doesn't call a witness, doesn't take the stand. So what about this case? Brings us to the next question in our investigation. Does Lori care about this case? I know attempting to travel inside her mind is a dangerous trip, but does Lori care about this case? Let's bring in our guests. Joining me, clinical and forensic neuropsychologist, expert in conducting forensic evaluations and author of the book, The New Rules of Attachment, Dr. Judy Ho, and retired police commander, religious cult expert, yes, we need that, host of Profiling Evil podcast, and author of the book, Deceived, which is not about her. It's about someone else. Mike King is with us. All right. Dr. Judy Ho, what are your thoughts here? In her first trial, she just sat by, let it all happen, didn't participate. Second trial, participates a lot by representing herself, but then when it's time to call a witness or testify, nothing. Does she care?
Well, hi, Vinny, and hi, Mike. You know, this is really baffling in some ways, but in other ways, perhaps not. I think that in her mind, all of her decisions make sense to her. We're underestimating the power of the self-justification process. So it's possible that in the first trial, she thought, well, I have nothing to prove. Truth stands for itself. I should be vindicated for my actions. I only wanted the best for people. It sounds like she kind of believes that type of narrative. And similarly, in this second case, she is standing there and she's saying, I'm going to represent myself because she was probably unhappy with her attorneys for whatever reasons. But at the same time, because she believes in the power of her own actions and that perhaps they were right in her eyes, she's not doing so much of the homework, right? And I think we're also not speaking about the fact that someone who's never had true legal training, been a trial attorney, is deciding, I can do this. Things that people dedicate their entire lives to. I can go ahead and do this because I'm right.
And this is the one case, I think, involving her, and there's another one coming up. She has another trial coming up we'll talk about later. But, I mean, there was a potential to make some inroads here. Mike, before I have you answer, I want you to take a look at one of her moments of cross-examination. Because, again, she didn't present witnesses, but she did cross-examine. Let's take a look.
Did you interview our mother, Janice Cox?
I did not.
Did you read or watch her interview?
I have not.
Did you interview our sister, Summer Shiflett?
I did not.
Did you read or watch her interview?
No.
Did you interview our father, Barry Cox?
No.
Did you read or watch his interview?
No.
Like, did you ask my mother what she meant in that text message when she wrote it?
No.
Did you ask my sister what she meant in those text messages?
No.
Did you ask Melanie, my niece, what she meant in those text messages?
No.
Did you ask me what I meant in those text messages?
I couldn't.
All right, Mike. Does she care about this case? Does she care about the results?
You know, Vinny, I wondered early on if this was something for her psychologically to be in charge and to run this thing. And then when that interview happened just before the trial began, where she came out and positioned herself as kind of the savior among women in the correctional system and that she's going in, I wondered if she was building the books for the fact that she has a long prison life ahead of her. And it wasn't going to change regardless of this case. But I see her kind of moving and ebbing and flowing with the tide as it changes. And as she starts seeing things working one way or another, she has to shift and move with that. And it just really came out clear to me as this thing started to unfold, and you could see her kind of throwing all her chips on the table and saying, yeah, I'm going to give up and let this thing take the course it's going to take, that she's in damage control right now. She's still trying to protect an image. I believe what happened in the courtroom today at the conclusion, just before that jury was dismissed, was all about fixing her credibility within the correctional system, that she was trying to get less said about all of the aggravating factors that led to this charge so that she can keep reminding people that she's this spiritual giant, that the God that she believes in wants her in prison helping them.
How about that, Dr. Judy Ho? Instead of leading the 144,000, she'll lead, I don't know, the 743 female inmates.
Well, Vinnie, I know we've talked about, hey, is this person suffering from some type of delusion? And one of the forms of delusion is that you believe that you're so important and that essentially a lot of different things, a lot of different people are all counting on you. And to Mike's point, is it possible that now her delusion has just shifted towards what is ahead of her, as opposed to before, where some of her delusions are about the things that she needed to do or had to do to be right with God, to do his bidding? Now, perhaps this delusion has just expanded to this next potential phase of her life. It's possible she has that recognition that that's coming, but I think that she's still building this narrative in her mind that, well, that's where God is calling me and that's where I'm going to do my most important work.
Yeah, I don't know if God's calling. Well, maybe. I don't know. Who am I to say? Anyway, Mike King's going to stick around. Dr. Judy Ho, thank you so much. Up next, did Chad manipulate Lori? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of Lori Daybell, a woman who at one time was a happy wife and mother, but then somehow transformed into a child killer after meeting a man named Chad. Here's the story. Lori and Chad Daybell's descent into apocalyptic delusion culminated in a series of chilling murders that shocked the nation. In 2019, Lori's two youngest children, 7-year-old J.J. Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan, vanished. Their remains were later discovered buried on Chad's Idaho property, revealing J.J. had been asphyxiated and Tylee's body dismembered and burned. Prosecutors argued that the couple's extremist beliefs led them to view the children as zombies possessed by evil spirits. Lori was convicted in 2023 and sentenced to life without parole, while Chad received the death penalty in 2024. Earlier, in July of 2019, Lori's estranged husband, Charles Vallow, was shot and killed by her brother, Alex Cox, in what was claimed to be self-defense. Authorities later charged Lori with conspiracy to commit murder in Charles' death, alleging that she and Alex plotted the killing to access life insurance funds. Additionally, Chad's first wife, Tammy Daybell, died under suspicious circumstances in October of 2019. Her death was later ruled a homicide, and both Lori and Chad were convicted of conspiring in her murder. You know, probably the biggest day in this entire case and investigation, like the biggest breakthrough in all of this, was back in 2020, June 8th of 2020. On that day, they were executing a search warrant of Chad Daybell's property outside. Chad Daybell is a free man at that moment, but Lori, his wife, is locked up. So she's incarcerated, he's on the outside, and they're both on the phone as police and investigators are digging up the backyard. Take a listen.
I asked him what we talked about. And he's very optimistic.
it was very optimistic for you, or he's very optimistic it could happen?
He's very optimistic. For both of us.
He doesn't know his own project timeline.
He said, stick with it.
And the people are like 3 months out. Like,
I mean,
when they estimated they'd have it done, and they're like, well, we had so many problems. We couldn't get to the backyard. We had to pull a crane over the house to get these huge rocks for the waterfall.
it's just a weird situation, but you're exactly right. Yeah, it takes forever.
Yeah, there's always something comes up. But we didn't know when we dug in your backyard, we were going to find whatever.
You just are spectacular, and the Lord is going to use those talents. You're on earth at this time for that purpose.
Fascinating to listen to those two. Now, that's day one of the search. It's the next day that he's arrested. It's the next day that they find those children in the backyard. But just listening to the back and forth between Lori and Chad brings us to the next question in our investigation. And it's one we've been talking about a lot through the years. Did Chad manipulate Lori? You know, you think about Lori's life before Chad, but you also look at Chad's life before Lori. Both their lives were very, very different, but they changed when they got together. But did Chad manipulate Lori? Joining us, the host of the true crime podcast, Pretty Lies and Alibis, and she knows many people close to this case. Gigi McKelvey is with us, and Lori Daybell's cousin and host of the podcast, The Midlife Revolution, Megan Connor, is with us. Both of our guests have been in the courtroom for this trial. Great to see both of you. Okay, what do you think, Gigi? From your perspective, did Chad manipulate Lori?
Of course he did, but Lori also manipulated Chad. I think it was a very mutual thing between the two of them. Lori manipulated him with her body, and Chad validated these needs Lori had to be the superior being with a big mission on Earth. And I think that when the two of them met, it was like fire and gasoline, and the manipulation was very mutual throughout the entire relationship from everything we've learned at these trials.
I want to take a look at this text message, series of text messages that Chad was sending to Lori. This is August 8th, 2019, when he's not getting a response from her about his upcoming family vacation with his wife, Tammy Daybell. Chad, absolutely excruciating to be cut off from you. I love you, with a heart emoji. Then he speaks to Lori as if he's Lori's dead grandfather. Grandpa Keith here. I'm supposed to warn you that you are unprotected. The angels are angry that you are ignoring me. They said that if you at least give me a thumbs up emoji, it will restore our connection enough to give some protection. Megan, how have you seen this relationship, Chad and Lori? Is it Chad manipulating Lori?
I agree with Gigi. I think it's definitely been both people manipulating both people. I see their relationship as ridiculous. It's adolescent, it's juvenile, it's stupid, frankly. You know, it really was just two people who wanted to be in a different situation than they were in. And so they decided to just do whatever it was that they needed to do whatever it took for the two of them to be together. And they ended up ruining so many lives in the process of doing that. The ripple effects of these crimes are never going to end. And for what? Chad's on death row. Lori's never going to leave prison. They're never going to be together except for in their imaginary portals. And it's honestly just infuriating.
Yeah, and the other thing that didn't happen in any of the trials was both of them being inside the courtroom at the same time, which could have happened. You can drop a subpoena, bring one in to testify, but that wasn't part of it. You know, I want to go back to Hawaii early on in this case, and we all know Nate Eaton from East Idaho News was chasing the story and literally chasing Lori and Chad, and this is at the moment where JJ and Tylee are missing. Take a look at this, because I think we have to go back and remember this moment and their reactions to these really significant questions.
Chad, where are Lori's kids? What happened to Tammy, Chad? Can you tell us what happened to Tammy? Why have you guys been in Hawaii for so long? Listen, just tell people what's happening. There's people around the country praying for your children, praying for you guys. Why don't you give us answers?
That's great.
That's great. That's great that they're praying for you, praying for your kids. What?
Gigi, what do you think is going on in the minds of those two in that moment as they're being confronted? Do you think they have any acknowledgement of where this story is going and where this investigation is going? Or do you think they still think they can spend time in paradise down in Hawaii?
I will say that Chad looks very nervous in that footage, and it reminds me of when Detective Hermosillo, the lead investigator in Idaho, first met Chad and Alex asking where JJ was, and Chad got very nervous and didn't say anything and looked at Alex. You see in that video, Lori is the one looking very sure, very defiant. Chad, not so much. I think that Chad knows the game is up. I think Lori probably does too, but she's never going to let that nervousness show to where Chad, you kind of read him like an open book in this video, very scared.
Megan, when I think about the manipulation, Chad to Lori, it's all this extreme stuff that he's coming up with, these prophecies, these visions and everything else. Like, he knows, like I know he knows they're not true. But is he able, do you believe, to convince Lori that they're real? Did Lori believe that they were real? Or did both use them to convince the people around them that all these deaths make sense for some reason?
Well, I think what is interesting is that when you know somebody is manipulative, like Lori, and you know that she has some narcissistic traits, people like that are actually really easy to manipulate. All you have to do to manipulate Lori is make her feel special and give her a special mission and make her feel like she's in charge. And that's exactly what Chad did. And so at that point, you know, Chad, who has a little bit of spiritual clout because he says that he has a near-death experience, Lori bought right into that. And then Chad goes and tells her that she's a goddess and she's got a special mission. And that aligns with what Lori believes about herself. And so that's how the two of them went down this road together, each of them manipulating the other to get what the other one wanted. And unfortunately, it just ended up in the deaths of so many people, the loss of lives, and the grief that just is never going to end. And I just think it's tragic that neither one of them had any introspection or any remorse about the way that they were dealing with other people, about the lives that were being lost. And we still see that now today. Lori is in a courtroom with absolutely zero recognition of all the lives that she's ruined.
Gigi, is this a case of a doomsday prepper who is engaging in the cliche behavior of middle-aged crazy, but an extreme version of it? Is that what happened here with Chad Daybell?
I think Chad was probably always a very awkward person. And so when he found this little group that thought he had these visions and that he was being given messages from heaven, he ate it up. It was the first time in his life he was kind of the big man on campus. And I think that was power to him. And with Lori, when they first met, his concepts were not new to her. She had been reading his books for quite some time, trying to give them to friends. So it was just the perfect storm when they met. He found somebody who was willing to go that extra mile with his beliefs and follow along with him. And I think more than anything, it was a power trip with Chad, to where with Lori, I think on a large scale, she really did believe a lot of what Chad said. I think there was a lot of things at play, money, power, all that. But she is very delusional with her religious beliefs and seems to be locked into that to this day.
All right, Gigi's going to stick around. Big thank you, Megan Connor. Your perspective and insight into all this has been so interesting and important in our coverage. Thank you so much. Still to come, what happened to Brandon Boudreaux?
On October 2nd of 2019, someone parked in front of my house and shot at me, tried to kill me.
No, you're dodging the question, David. You're dodging the question.
I'm not here to be interviewed. You've agreed to be interviewed. You told police you shot him twice in the head. It it sounds like you lost control of yourself.
Not at all. No, not at all. I could have killed everybody in that building, and I didn't.
You think you should get some kind of credit for not killing people?
Interview with a Killer. New episode, Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
Spent the last 11 years of my life spending time with Lori and her now deceased husband, Charles. I don't know what happened to those kids. I know that there's people who do and they're not talking. I don't know why they're doing what they're doing. It doesn't make any sense.
That's Brandon Boudreaux. He was married to Lori Daybell's niece, Melanie. And I want you to take a listen to his testimony here. This was during Chad Daybell's trial, where he's describing what happened to him in Arizona, where he lived. It's a harrowing story. Take a listen.
On October 2nd of 2019, someone parked in front of my house and shot at me and tried to kill me. The window opened up and I saw a gun and a silencer. And my window shattered. I heard a bang, all kind of in the same amount of time. And my immediate thought was just, I'm getting shot at. And I, instead of turning my wheel and into my driveway, I just pushed the gas and drove straight.
Okay, what's going on here? What is going on here? Brings us to the next question in our investigation. What happened to Brandon Boudreaux here? What he's describing here, who's responsible? Why did it happen? And what happened? Still with us, Gigi McKelvey, and joining us, retired police commander, religious cult expert, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, author of the book Deceived, Mike King is with us as well. When I take a look at Brandon Boudreaux's story, someone tried to take him out here, Gigi. What do we know about the backstory here, or the allegations of the backstory?
Well, the allegations are that Alex Cox took the Jeep that Charles helped Tylee get and drove from Idaho down to Arizona and waited while Brandon was dropping off his kids between daycare and the youngest with its mother. And he went to the gym, and when he came back, what we just heard him describe happened. He drove off and told investigators very early on, there's been some strange things happening. He let them know about Charles Vallow. Didn't know at the time the kids were killed. And by the way, this was shortly before Tammy Daybell was shot at in her own driveway. And then a little over a week later, killed herself. So they were trying to do one after the other. He was very lucky. It was within inches. He was likely almost victim number 5 in this crazy case.
And Mike, he recognized the vehicle that he saw, and it was Tylee's vehicle. But obviously Tylee at the time is missing. I want you to take a look at some of the video from the storage unit in Idaho, because what's significant in all of this is who is going back and forth to this storage unit, what are they bringing, what are they dropping off, and when are they doing it? And early on, this was a little confusing, some of the back and forth here, but it's clearly Lori who rented it, and you've got her going at one time with Chad, at another time with Alex. And one of the things that happens in one of these trips is that we see a tire returned to the storage unit. And when we see that tire returned, Mike, there it is, or the tire being taken away from the storage unit, it was kept there. To me, that is the clearest part of all this that sort of ties Lori to the tire. That's removed for this shooting.
I'm with you, Vinny, and I think it really ties her toward a conspiracy on this particular case, because she's there. She's there most likely loading it into that storage unit, and she's there when Alex comes to get it back on the Jeep after the attempted homicide occurs. And, you can't listen to Brandon Boudreaux without immediately thinking this guy is so credible, and you just feel for him, because he's trying to keep his family together. He's trying to figure out this mess. And just like Gigi said, all of a sudden, all of the different pawns in this chessboard are starting to fall off. And it really points to what was in my opinion, a very, very surgical attempt to remove individuals, most likely, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out in the trial, that had something that Lori and Chad and Alex could gain from, likely insurance money.
Yeah, Gigi, when you think about Chad's involvement here as well, right? Because he's at that storage unit, so that connects him to the tire, to Alex, to this attempt on Brandon Boudreaux. The other question here is, how about Brandon's wife or estranged wife, the mother of his children? She's never been implicated in anything, and the question is, why is Lori taking out her niece, or attempting to, if these allegations are true, why is she attempting to take out her niece's, the father of her niece's children?
Well, first of all, I call her Melanice because there's two Melanies in this case, and it helps me keep them straight. But they were separated going through a divorce, but she still had life insurance on him, and she was the beneficiary. The other reason, I think, is Lori considered Brandon to be evil because he was friends with Charles. And although it's widely believed that Melanie blocked Charles's cell phone from Brandon's and they didn't have contact for a while, they felt like Brandon was maybe in on this intervention that was kind of the catalyst that started the murders in motion, beginning with Charles. So I think it was a combination of the insurance money and also just thinking that Brandon was an evil person. They called him, they compared him to the Gadiantons, which is like a band of robbers that were running around as if they were good people, but doing bad things or something to that effect. So they definitely talked about their dislike for Brandon a lot in text message. And I just think that support of Charles, or him being friends with Charles, along with the insurance money, is the reason. Because if you look, Charles, Tammy, and Brandon, all three had large life insurance policies that, they were due to get, with the exception of Lori.
Mike, we have about 25 seconds here. What are your thoughts about this trial? Because this is Lori Daybell's next trial for the conspiracy for the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux.
You know, Vinny, half of me thinks that the prosecution's going to say, hey, we've got enough. Lori's never going anywhere, if Brandon was agreeable to it. But I think we have to have this trial because I think it's going to expose more than just Lori, Vallow, Daybell. I think we're going to see co-conspirators who were involved, and whether they're ever charged or not, there are going to be tentacles to this case that maybe we'll talk about for years to come.
Mike King, Gigi McKelvey, great to have you on the program. Thank you so much for all your help and insight. You know, as Mike said, this story will never really end. I think it's because the hurt and the pain is so deep and so devastating. Now, because of her personality, sometimes the true evil of this woman, Lori Daybell, gets blurred, but not for the victims. Those she killed, obviously, and the lives she impacted forever through her actions. And my lingering question is, how could a mother ever do this? I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.